continue to give folks just a couple seconds to get themselves oriented to our space. We're really excited to be with all of you tonight. We want people to ask lots of questions, and so that's using the chat or raise your hand function. I would remind you, if you'd like to turn on closed captioning, there is a CC button at the bottom of the screen. This event is being recorded. We want to see your faces. We love seeing the faces, seeing the reactions. So we're asking you if you can keep your camera on. And of course, we're intimating that by your continuing to participate, you do acknowledge and agree to be recorded. I think we're going to have a great community tonight.
Thanks for having me.
I hope that you all enjoy yourself a lot. We're getting, one of the benefits of a virtual Eat, Drink, and Be Generous is people come from all over the places, different places around our region, around our country. We want to acknowledge the land where United Way offices are, where we do the most of our work. And so I would like to take time to acknowledge that we are on the unceded traditional land of the Coast Salish people, specifically the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish people, past and present. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the Duwamish tribe. Now, this acknowledgement only becomes meaningful when combined with authentic relationships and informed actions, and acts only as a first step in honoring the land we are on. I encourage you to visit uwkc.org/land for more information and to learn about actions you can take. And for those of you who are joining us from land other than Coast Salish land, we encourage you to take time, if you haven't already done so, to learn about the indigenous and first peoples of the land from where you are joining, and to take action to support the culture and their people and that land. Really excited to be with a friend to myself, a longtime advocate and supporter of United Way, award-winning local chef, the founder and owner of Ethan Stoll Restaurants. Ethan, who is going to take us into the next part of this wonderful event.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Gordon. Always nice to see you, even though we're a little virtual tonight. But we're happy to be here and supporting United Way. It's such a wonderful organization, and we're so lucky to have you and the entire organization here in Seattle supporting us and the people in need. So we appreciate it. Thank you so much. I am here. It is Chef Ethan Stoll. I am not here cooking tonight. I am going to be the most mediocre bartender you've ever seen. I'm going to teach you how to make a Negroni, and it's so simple, even I can make it. But we are here mostly to enjoy the food of one of the Seattle's up-and-coming chefs, Kaleena Bliss. So we thank you so much for joining us and supporting United Way. I'm going to let Kaleena explain a little bit what we're doing tonight, and then we're going to have some fun, do some cooking, make some cocktails, and make sure everybody here learns about United Way and all the reasons there is to to support financially United Way, and also just showing up for these fun events. So Kaleena, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chef. I'm really excited and honored to be here participating in this event. I feel like events like this mean so much because we're actually doing something for the community. I know you've done quite a bit since COVID to just raise funds for people who need it in our community. And I think that's so special, especially in our positions. So super excited to be here. For those of you that don't know me, I was most recently the chef at the Thompson Hotel, so the Nest and Conversation. I actually just recently parted ways with them to work on some solo projects and some pop-ups. But you also might know me from, well, I've had a fun year. I was the winner of Food Network's Beachside Brawl series, as well as Chopped Casino Royale. And I was just awarded Puget Sound Business Journal's 40 Under 40. So it's been good. It's so fun actually seeing everybody right now. I can see all of your faces on camera. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm really excited to cook some food with you tonight. So the first rains are coming tomorrow. I'm sure everyone is excited as we are to get the smoke out of here. I'm kind of a weirdo. I'm a Washington native. So when it's like too sunny for a while, I get kind of depressed. So I'm like ready for like gloomy PNW weather. and I want the food to go with it. So today we're going to do a chicory salad and a campanelli pasta with fall squash and some foraged mushrooms. I'm super excited you guys are tuning in.
I gotta tell you, it's pretty rare that you find two cooks on the same stage that are both from Seattle or the Northwest. I mean, everybody's from everywhere else, right? We all know that. So finding another native is nice. Thank you.
It's kind of fun because like I remember like a decade ago, nobody knew like what Washington or even Portland, Oregon, like in that area of Washington is. So everybody was always like, where are you from?
Totally.
Why is Washington important? And now it's like such a culinary like destination on the map.
Yeah, it's great for sure. So thank you so much. We're so happy
Thank
to have you here. All of you know that we've been doing these Eat, Drink, and Be Generous series for quite a while. We do them virtual mostly because of the pandemic. I actually think they're actually great events to do, cooking classes and engagement events like we're doing tonight, doing them virtually because you have all the you're in your own home. We send you kits. You have your own equipment. You know where everything is in your kitchen. So I actually really think these things are great, and I hope they don't go away. So we started doing these when the pandemic hit because we couldn't do things in person. Myself and our team at ESR did a few of them. Chris Hines probably knows the number, but I don't. But we're happy to be doing it. We've always been big, proud sponsors of United Way. We've done the campaign chair twice now, and we've always enjoyed doing it. It's such a rewarding thing to do, and it's such a unique and special organization to help out and partner with. So it's their team. I know I talked to Gordon a little about it earlier. You know, he was just listed in Puget Sound Business Journal as one of the 100 power brokers in Seattle. And his answer, I congratulate him. The first thing he said was, you know, hey, I've got a great team. So everyone, thank you so much for being here. I know Gordon's going to chat for a little bit, and then we're going to get to making some drinks and making some food. Thanks.
Thanks, Kaleena. Thanks, Ethan. Gordon is only going to talk a little bit because I'm wise enough not to get between this crowd and some fancy, tasty drinks and some food. But it is a team sport. We have a community. You all are part of that community. We have great leaders like Kaleena and Ethan that make these events a lot of fun. So you're informed, you're inspired, and we also have great supporters. And so I want to take a moment to show you, have the sponsorship chart displayed. I want to thank our great corporate partners and sponsors, starting with Microsoft, Bank of America, our hometown airline, Alaska Airlines. And I want to say that any one of you who makes a change maker, which is $1,200 or more to United Way of King County, or an EL 365, Emerging Leader 365 gift commitment, that's $365 or more in a year. If you make that commitment tonight, we will enter your name into a drawing to win 2 round-trip tickets anywhere our hometown Alaska Airlines flies. So a little incentive to go with tonight's inspiring and informing event. Maybe you'll even want to do it twice after you've had this great cocktail. So we're going to go back to Kaleena and Ethan to get our cooking instructions underway. Over to you, Phil.
So first thing real quick, if you haven't already, we are going to be making pasta. So you're going to want to get on a pot, like a medium to large pot of boiling water. And then just be sure to salt it quite well. You cannot oversalt it for pasta. And then just make sure you have a saute pan because that's what we're going to be cooking the pasta in, and a strainer to strain the pasta when it's ready.
I see you have all your ingredients kind of laid out.
And all the ingredients, I took everything out of my box already, but please open up your boxes. Let's go ahead and get the ingredients out. As you can see, I've kind of put mine all in bowls already, but go ahead and familiarize yourself with everything that's in your kits right now. And let us know if you have any questions.
Yeah, I mean, I've always found these classes best to take everything out of the containers or at least take the lids off so you're kind of prepared and ready to go. All right, you've done your thing. I'm supposed to teach you guys how to make a cocktail. Okay, I am going to make a Negroni, which you all got in your kits. It's a super easy drink to make. It's the classic Italian aperitif cocktail. It's got 3 ingredients. It's got gin, and you're gonna want to use a classic London dry gin, not Hendrix. That's anything that's very floral. It's meant to be. If you use Hendrix, it'll get too floral and won't taste like, you know, totally like a Negroni. You also have Campari, which is a super bitter a liqueur, but it's really designed and meant to like stimulate the appetite. That's why Italians, you know, they drink this this cocktail so much, is just because it helps them get hungry, get ready for dinner. And then you got sweet vermouth to balance it out, because Campari is super bitter. It's gonna be tough to you know, drink it straight. You got to have something to balance it out, and that is the sweet vermouth. So it is very simple. I'm gonna make one for myself and one for Kaleena. And it's just very simply, it's just equal ingredients. So I'm gonna use the big side of the thing. Now, just so you guys all know, cocktails are meant to be measured. If you're at a bar and you see a bunch of bartenders, if it's a nice bar, if it's a dive bar, they're gonna free pour. But if they're not using measuring at all, it's probably not gonna be the most balanced drink. You know, I mean, making a cocktail is very much like cooking or baking. You have to have a recipe involved. It is about ratios. It's about following the steps. And in this case, as you can all see, I just measured equal parts. Now, I put it in my cocktail glass and I'm stirring. Notice that there's no ice in there. I don't add ice at the beginning. You know, I don't add ice before I measure the alcohol, because I don't want it to dilute too much. So I measure everything out so it's consistent. And then after that, I add ice cubes, which we're gonna stir. Oh, I guess now. And then this is just one of those stirring things. You run around the rim with the cocktail. Super easy. One of these stirring sticks. You really want to get it going so it's really kind of starts, you know, the alcohol is going to start diluting and melting the ice cubes a little bit, which is really what you want. You want it to soften the drink a little bit, but you don't want it to be watery. Okay. About 20 stirs is good. And then you're going to take fresh ice, put it in your cocktail glass. And I'm using these big ice cubes. People use large ice cubes because they melt slower. If you use really small ice cubes, they melt fast. They dilute your drink faster than you can drink it. So, you know, there's a reason why people use, you know, use all the large cocktails. And then I have that. I have my strainer on this. Divvy it out between the 2 cocktail glasses. Discard all this ice. And then the garnish, traditional garnish is a orange twist. And when I'm twisting things, I use just a regular peeler because I like a lot of spritz on it. And I make sure when I'm doing it, I peel it over the drink. So some of that orange peel oil gets on the drink. And then I take the peel, wipe it around the rim so each sip has a little bit of orange taste to it. And then you're all set. If everybody here wants to watch a really cool video of somebody far better than me making a Negroni, Google Stanley Tucci, the actor, Stanley Tucci Negroni class. Like I have never seen more ladies in our company talk about a man making a cocktail than when Stanley Tucci did. So if anybody wants to see it, he's an awesome guy. He makes a great cocktail, and the video is amazing. So everybody, thank you so much. That's my whole thing right there. That's as much. I'm gonna leave now.
You're supposed to give me the cocktail.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I've been waiting for this segment, the whole part. So yeah, cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hey, we would love to see your support tonight. We'd love to see some gifts to United Way. It'd be great. They're doing a lot of great work. I also want to shout out a couple people. I mean, obviously there's a bunch of great United Way people there. Also, Jeff Rakes is on the call. I saw. I love your beef company that I buy online. He's got an online meat company that you guys should all check out and order some meat from. So, everybody, thank you so much. It's
Ethan, before you go,
Yep.
good question. What's your favorite cocktail and what is Kaleena's favorite cocktail?
Ooh.
ooh. I would say I've got three favorites.
3.
Three.
I feel like mine changes with the mood too. So we're entering fall. So I love a good Negroni, but I also I get into like whiskey. So I want like an old fashioned. I always crave a really nice old fashioned that I can sip on. And I always want one with like those big like ice cubes in
Big
it.
round ones.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm a Negroni fan, a Manhattan fan, and then a Vesper fan. So a Vesper is a gin and vodka martini with some with a little bit of Lillet in it. So those are my three favorites personally.
And then like when it's a little warmer out, like in the summer, I was drinking a lot of Moscow mules. So
Yeah, margaritas too.
Yeah. Ugh.
And people think that
Dangerous.
margaritas are definitely a craft cocktail if done right. So I think we're going to turn it over to you. We toasted. Back to you, Henry.
Whoops. And folks who are there, we continue to field questions and you'll get some really candid and sometimes some frivolity also from our two famous chefs. But I do want to take a moment to talk about United Way. The work we do is far from frivolous, it is very serious. We are wanting to be and working really hard to be an organization that sees a racially just community where all people have homes, students graduate, and families are financially stable. Think about that. A racially just community where all people have homes, students graduate, and families are financially stable. This is a bold and worthy aspiration, and it's only gotten harder as we've navigated the pandemic because there's been so much dislocation and it doesn't fall evenly across our community. What we do at United Way, we work first and foremost to meet the immediate needs of the community through our programs and services, providing resources to people right now. One great example is rental assistance, helping people stay in their home, helping them avoid the trauma of homelessness. Since the beginning of the pandemic, our home-based program has helped more than 20,000 households with rental help. 70% of those households identify as Black, Indigenous, and other people of color. One of my great colleagues, Wayne Wilson, is going to talk more about some of this work in a few minutes. We live in this incredibly diverse, prosperous, agricultural, industrial community, and we have food insecurity. We have people who don't know how they're going to feed themselves or their families this week or next week. We have folks in the community who don't get enough food this week and next. So we have a home grocery delivery program that we started up during the pandemic, and we're delivering food to more than 6,700 households each week. It's culturally relevant, nutritious food. So those are just two examples. We also work not just on immediate needs, we work on transforming the systems that create the need and create the disparities that exist. We do this by engaging the communities we serve to join us in this work. They inform us of their reality. They support us by participating in our advocacy and us in their advocacy. One example recently was that this past March, United Way and our partners successfully advocated for state legislation, Washington state legislation, that supports digital equity by funding connectivity hardware, software, and other capacity building service for community technology programs. One of the big needs that we heard about early in the pandemic, how to stay connected if you don't have the tools. Another example is breakfast after the bell. We know that students who eat school breakfasts are more focused, have fewer absences, and they earn better test scores. But many low-income kids and children of color miss breakfast because of barriers such as transportation, social stigma, overcrowded cafeterias. So in addition to collaborating with school districts in King County and beyond, United Way, we collaborated with our partners to pass breakfast after the bell legislation in Olympia that makes breakfast a part of the school day, just like school lunch. And this is actually rolling out across the state. Even though we're United Way at King County, we're working hard with many partners to make sure that this benefit is received across Washington State. We also look at how do we get our work done. We don't, that's about the how, the methods. One, work with the people who are closest to the challenges, whose immediate needs can't wait for policy changes, and who have really great ideas on what is needed to improve their lives. Another is work with those who are closest to the power, lawmakers, our partners in philanthropy, our partners in the corporate sector, who can make change on a broad scale and transform our systems that caused the problem in the first place. One of these is ending homelessness, helping students graduate, and breaking the cycle of poverty. These are areas that are United Way is our focus. One of the things I think that's really important to understand is just how much of these areas are connected. We often say interconnected. Because of the issues of poverty, homelessness, and education are all connected, at United Way, the range of programs and supports we deliver are also connected. I'll give you one example, education. We know that education is one of the best ways to end the cycle of poverty. We also know that poverty makes it difficult to stay in school and to be successful in school. So it's why we support families and students through the continuum of their education, first before they enter kindergarten until they complete college. This approach is sorely needed in Washington State, where our graduation rates have been stagnant, and there is a significant opportunity gap for the state's students of color due to racism, poverty, and lack of ethnic and racial diversity in our school districts. In all of our programs, our service programs, we work to connect families to services that can stabilize their lives. We have financial stability work, and that's been really, really important because of the economic aspects of the pandemic, because it disproportionately hit low-income, underserved communities and our Black, Indigenous, and other communities of color. And now we're all dealing with inflation, but again, it hits those who were more at risk in the beginning. So one way we help build stability for families is preventing hunger. I mentioned earlier about our home grocery delivery, serving over 6,700 households each week. 79% of those households served are the head of the household identifies as Black, Indigenous, person of color. I'm really proud of this work, providing easy and equitable access to the food that families need. It does not require them to bus to or to a food bank. It did not require them to be at risk of coming down with COVID because they were out waiting in the cold or in the heat around a lot of other people to get the food. It is innovative, and it has the ability to fundamentally change a system, or we call it emergency food system, despite a global pandemic. We also expanded access to culturally relevant food thanks to the first of its kind grant from King County, our King County government. 32% of our home delivery clients are now receiving a culturally specific box of groceries. So this is the importance of United Way working across the sector with other nonprofits, philanthropists, our public sector. We have broad sources of support, and we work on these issues that are interconnected. Another one we do is getting people to sign up for we call it SNAP, but it's supplemental nutrition, or formerly known as food stamps. We connect them to our free tax preparation, and we connect them to folks who can provide them with rental assistance, who can provide them with housing support, independent of financial issues, who can connect them to other basic services that they need when they're so stressed out, worried about their housing. A little later, you're going to hear more about our work to help our neighbors who are struggling with housing and homelessness from my colleague, Wayne. But now I want you to know that none of this work happens without your financial support. And that's why we're so excited you're here with us. And we hope that you'll be inspired to support United Way financially, or if you already are, to increase that support. But for now, I'm going to send it back to Ethan and Kaleena so we can focus some more on this wonderful food we're going to eat.
Thank you so much, Gordon. I mean, it's always impressive to hear what United Way is doing. You know, when you're talking about the food delivery program, I mean, one of the things I think is most important about United Way is that they actually take things to scale, right? They have a major impact. And that's the reason why they're so important to give your support to them. When you look at that 6,700 households, you figure I'm just doing math on my iPhone. I just did it. This is not official United Way data, but I'm assuming 3 people per household, 52 weeks a year. You're talking about you're talking about 1 million meals. I mean, that's a big deal. And that's in a city that's incredibly affluent. And Gordon's talking about inflation. That's another piece of the puzzle that United Way is also working on, is that, inflation is the land of the haves and the have-nots, and we got to figure that out. So us that are all on the side of the haves have a responsibility. We do have a responsibility. I used to say in the pandemic that, hey, this isn't the year to sit out because there's so much going on. We signed up to be the campaign chairs, Steve and I, my partner in ESR, Steve Hooper Jr., to be campaign chairs for that year, because they called me and said, "Hey, we don't think this is a year for a first-time campaign chair." And I said, "You know what? I'd like to do it. I'd love to do it because I think it's something we have to do to help support the community. The whole community is in trouble, and I'd rather be part of the solution than the problem. Right? If you're sitting on the sidelines, I'm sorry to say it, but you're part of the problem. So please, make sure you're supporting a great organization. And thanks again for being here. Obviously, you're here because you care. And let's all go out there and make a difference, please. I'm going to turn it over to Kaleena. We'll actually get some food going here because that's what we all came to do. I gave you a cocktail half as good as Stanley Tucci would make it. But now I'm going to give you some delicious food by me not making it. Thank you.
I kind of can't stop drinking it. So hopefully you guys are feeling the same way for those of you who got it. This might get a little fun near the end. Okay, so we're going to start with the appetizer for this meal kit. So it is a chicory salad. This is my go-to in the fall. I pretty much have had it on every menu I've had in every restaurant for the last 6 years. And the cool thing about it is that I wanted to kind of do things that were simple and also give you guys a chance to improvise next time if you should want to make it. I feel like this one could, there's so many things you could add to it to make it your own, flavor, to make it something that you want. So what we have here, you guys go ahead and open your salad box. So we have a mixture of 3 chicories here. So bitter greens, basically. We're going to have right here the radicchio. The long kind of thinner one is Treviso. And then this kind of cool looking cranberry guy is the Castelfranco. You're also going to see that there are already some pickled shallots mixed into your kit. So the nice thing, and hopefully you got it too, is when you open it, you can actually really smell that it's already kind of a little bit marinated, the lettuce, the greens. So the pickled shallots are really simple. If you guys ever want to pickle anything at home, I always suggest a 3-to-1 ratio, super easy to remember. I do 3 parts vinegar, in this case, red wine, just to give it the color, 2 parts water, 1 part sugar. I've seen it done other ways, but that's kind of my go-to. And then of course, adding any herbs or aromatics that you want. So greens are in a bowl, shallots in the bowl. We're going to go ahead and also add the blue cheese. Should be in a little ramekin. Feel free to break it up a little bit more if the chunks are a little big. So this comes from Rogue Creamery. This is in Southern Oregon. So this cheese is local. It's actually smoked on hazelnut shells. It's one of my favorites. So go ahead and add as much or as little as you like. I feel like with the chicories, they're a little bit bitter. They're a little sturdy. So I always feel like it needs a lot of acid and a lot of kind of flavoring to go with it to make it super palatable to me. And then go ahead and grab your vinaigrette. I put mine in a bowl, so I'm going to go ahead and mix it with a fork. Yours is in a ramekin with a lid, so I would suggest just kind of shaking it. Yeah, there you go. I see you guys have got it.
Angela's got it.
Yeah.
Shake it. Shake it.
So this is an apple cider vinaigrette. Again, just kind of, I love all these pictures of everyone just I wish we had some Outcast playing right now.
That's what I was singing. Then I realized I'm a bad singer and I was like, I can't do this.
I appreciated it still. I appreciated it. Yeah, there we go. I'm seeing you guys. So this is just a really simple vinaigrette, and this salad also goes really good with any of your favorite vinaigrettes. I find that chicories go really well with something that's super high in acid. Again, it just kind of helps cut through the bitterness, more so than if you just had regular greens. So apple cider, olive oil blended with a little bit of shallot, some lemon juice, and then some salt and pepper. So super, super simple. And again, go ahead and add as much as you want or not want. Some people like it a little heavier dressed. Again, I like it a little heavier dressed because I feel like it needs to kind of be massaged, if you will. I feel like chicories are so versatile, and tell me if you agree with me. Like you can have them, you could have them wilted, you can have them charred, you can have them grilled.
Chorizo on a wood fire grill is amazing.
Yeah. My favorite though really is to kind of like, if you have gloves or even just tongs, like really get in there, like smash the blue cheese into the greens, kind of bruise it a little bit. Because chicories are so different than like your normal romaine lettuce. Like you really want to penetrate the flavors and kind of bruise it up a little bit. At least for this.
I want to point out, if anybody here has been on these classes before, I always wear latex gloves. And it's because I don't like to damage the leaves of salad greens. That oftentimes tongs break everything up, and everyone makes fun of me because I wear latex gloves making a salad. But thank you so much for being a person that wears latex gloves.
And then let's go ahead and taste it. There was a little bit of seasoning already on this. If you feel like it needs a little salt and pepper, please add, and don't be shy with the salt. I feel like that's one of our secrets as chefs. It's like you eat a little too much salt. I'm not gonna lie.
I've always said, people always think that restaurants are like, hey, they're, you know,
even the healthy ones, right?
Yeah, they always think that the secret to, you know, to restaurant food is cream and butter. It's actually not that at all. It's actually just salt.
Yeah.
You add another 25% to your cooking, 25% more salt to your cooking at home, I guarantee you're going to be a way better cook.
So hopefully you can kind of, hopefully yours is looking the same. You can see it's kind of bruised, it's kind of wilted. You got that pickled shallot in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of plate this up, kind of separate the cheese. So every leaf kind of has some flavor on it. Should be pretty acidic if you've tasted it already, but that's kind of what we're going for with this one.
Yeah, the Treviso Radicchio Castelfranco program is not for the light of heart. You know, it's one of those ones where it has to have some good acid to it to cut through it, or some sweetness. Even like things like garlic and anchovy are great in it, but it has to have something that's sturdy to it. It's sturdy and hold up against it. And
So-
it's a delicious looking salad.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun. And then we're gonna add a little bit of crunch to it. So I've roasted some pepitas or pumpkin seeds with just a little bit of olive oil, some salt for about 6 minutes at a 350-degree oven. They get nice and crispy, and I just love the crunch on it, to be honest. And again, if you're improvising at home, if you want to try this after this segment, some of my favorite ways are like add shaved Brussels sprouts, add apple, add citrus to it. It's so versatile. Add more herbs to it. So Ethan, this is
thank you.
yours.
Just what everybody on this show wants to watch is me eat. All right, it looks delicious. I'm not going to take a bite just yet. I do want to open the floor to questions for, it can be anybody. It can be Gordon, myself, it can be Kaleena. We've got a wonderful guest speaker and Wayne Wilson coming up in a little bit, but now's the time to really ask any questions. And I also give a little bit of shout out. I also want to give a big shout out to Nicole for her donation, and Christine for her donation as well. So thank you so much. We love it. We love seeing it, and thank you so much for participating with us.
Oh, I see someone saying I have a pear. I've added pears to the salad quite a bit as well. It's like a perfect fall ingredient. What I would recommend though, if you have a mandolin, shave it super thin. Otherwise, I would slice it pretty thin so that it folds in really well with the leaves. But you're right on track with that thought.
Great seasonal combination. Right
Yeah, that's smart.
there. All right. Anybody have any other questions? Anybody, you guys can all unmute if you want. Don't make me start calling on people. I'm gonna call on people pretty soon.
Yeah, I have a question. Can we get, we kind of weren't following the cocktail mix. can you send out recipes for that afterwards?
Sure, somebody can. I will tell you. I'll tell you right now. It is the easiest cocktail you ever had. It is
Okay, well-
equal parts. We can send it out to you, but we want to put it in the chat. It is equal parts gin, sweet vermouth, and Campari. With an
Gin,
orange
sweet vermouth, and Campari. Okay, got it. Thank
syrup
you.
on ice. Yep, we'll put it in the chat though.
Great, thank you.
Gin, sweet vermouth, and Campari.
Missy, you're so good.
That's about as complex of a recipe as I can handle these days. So that's pretty much why I did it.
Good, we like simple.
I do too.
Comfort food, fall comfort
What's your
food.
fall comfort food?
You guys, I'm a mess. So I'm not gonna lie. I like make good food. I eat good food. I appreciate good food, but sometimes I also just like pizza. I like
great.
fried chicken. I like macaroni and cheese. And don't tell my boyfriend I said this because he's out of town right now, but I like eating it in bed. Horizontal if I can.
Okay, that's cute.
Fall comfort food. Yeah, I'm a broth guy. I mean, I love pho. I love
Oh, yeah.
ramen. I went down to Senya down in Ballard today for lunch. We had a curry broth, coconut curry broth with a bunch of with a bunch of seafood in it, which was delicious. It was a noodle house down in Ballard. Super nice. Same owners as Pestle Rock. They do some great stuff. But yeah, I'm a broth guy.
I'm gonna piggyback off of you. I love pho in the
That
winter
was great.
and summer and fall and spring all the time.
All the time.
All the
I mean,
time.
pho cyclo was the best. And then Taylor had to go start working for Amazon. And those of you who don't know, Taylor Huang, she's a great philanthropist in Seattle. She's very community involved. She had pho cyclo, and then she decided she wanted to go work and do the community outreach position at Amazon. But I super miss her restaurants. I'm bummed. Thanks for bringing it up. I'm joking. But I do miss those. But yeah, it's delicious.
Well, let us know what you guys' favorite fall foods are too, because we're definitely seeing the comments on the screen right now.
Yeah, who else has got some fall favorites? Wayne, Gordon?
Angela? Jeff? See, we're calling people out now.
That's
All right, I'll
right.
tell you, I love Gordon here. I love butternut squash soup.
Yeah.
Little bacon on top, bacon bits and some little crema. And I'm
Sure,
down
sure.
with Kaleena in terms of pizza. Pizza is always, in fact, I had pizza earlier tonight. Yes.
Actually, my fall favorite, I just moved to Seattle, and my fall favorite's probably going to be the spaghetti and meatballs from Tavolata.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Oh,
We live right down the street, so I walk there all the time. It's so good.
Which one, Belltown or Capitol Hill or Wallingford? Belltown, cool. Well, it's nice of you to give me a shout out, and it was nice that Gordon gave me a shout out because you were eating Ballard Pizza Company tonight, right, Gordon? I think Gordon is not telling the truth
silence.
right
Silence.
It is where I have driven. I'm driven there twice, haven't we? 3 times.
I had teasing. I had Pagliacci pizza. My kid wanted. My own son wanted Pagliacci last night. I was like, you little punk.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Go to Woodinville, see the leaves change, and have some good pizza, courtesy of Ethan Stoll Restaurants. It's worth the drive.
I appreciate it. Okay. Hey, I'm gonna we're gonna shepherd's pie is delicious. Yes. That little yeah, for sure, shepherd's pie. I'm gonna have or ask Wayne Wilson at United Way to get on and talk about things. Wayne is the community impact manager. He's an awesome guy, and we love having him on. So we appreciate you taking the time tonight to come on and educate people about what United Way is working on. So I'm gonna let you take it over, Wayne. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ethan. And it's good to see you, Kaleena. And Gordon, always good to be in your presence. It's a privilege for me to do the work of homelessness and housing at United Way. And I always say it's a privilege because doing this work, I enter people's lives and kind of get in some of their personal information that you don't honestly get to see all the time. So they're trusting me with their information. It's also a privilege to work at United Way of King County. United Way has been a wonderful place for my family and I for nearly 7 years. And it allows me to dig deeply in the work that I do every day. I want to start out by saying one thing so that the air is clear, and that's that homelessness is solvable. No matter what you hear, no matter what you think, no matter what you see on the street, homelessness is solvable. And it's solvable when we decide as a community that we're going to create enough spaces and places for all people to live in a safe, clean environment. The other thing I want to bring up is the number of homeless people, because I run numbers all the time. In King County, homelessness, or the number of people that are homeless, is 0.5%. That means 99.5% of people are housed. And if you run the numbers through the major cities over the country, the numbers are exactly the same. In every major city, only about 0.5% of people are homeless. And as you know, in King County, we believe that all people should deserve housing because homelessness is something that is in our community and is something that we are not. We are people who work together in one community, and we just believe that we should get together, show love, care, and compassion to one another so that we can solve this problem. At United Way, I manage 2 principal programs around homelessness. One Gordon already spoke of called home-based rental assistance. And yes, we have helped over 20,000 people with over $120 million to allow people to stay in their homes. Because keeping people in their homes is the best way to prevent people from being homeless in the first place. The second thing I want to talk about at some length is something called Streets to Home. Streets to Home has been one of the flagship programs of United Way for nearly 7 years because it reaches people who are actually homeless, those who live on the street, those who live in their cars, and those who occupy shelter each and every night. When we look at the numbers of people who are homeless, in the last time it was measured, 13,300 people were found to be homeless, and about 55% of that number were actually in shelters. That means that there are 5,700 people who are outdoors, in cars, and places where humans should not exist. People often see street homelessness, and you see a lot of people who are mentally ill. But we know through our information that 65% of people who are homeless just because they're poor, which means they do not earn or make or acquire enough dollars each and every day through working and other things so that they have somewhere to live. So 7 years, United Way has been involved in something called Streets to Home, where we give various service providers flexible dollars to help people move into housing and now also attain employment. There's a relationship between employment and housing because as people make money and as all of us make money, that's what allows us to be able to afford to live somewhere in the county. Tonight, or I should say over the past year through Streets to Home, we've worked with over 11 service providers and have helped 540 families move from the street, from shelter into permanent housing. As Ethan said earlier, in homelessness, we use a factor of 3 to measure the number of people. So if we take that 540 households, we can say 1,600 people got into housing through Streets to Home. And the good thing that we always talk about is 95% of the people who got housing and employment through Streets to Home, as we measured 6 months down the road, were still in housing. One of the cases that I'll highlight tonight is through a young man named John. John came to us and he was very new to homelessness and he just didn't know what to do. He lost his job soon after the pandemic. And so there was a hole, there was a gap. And often people who are new to homelessness, they don't know what to do. They don't know where to find any resources. So he found his way to United Way. We reached out to one of our service providers, and they first started John to give him a place where he could park his car and live safely in his car in a place called a safety lot. Soon after, John was able to get food and water and do some hygiene stuff at the safety lot location. But then he worked, and we worked with him to help him find a job and eventually help him find housing. The cool part about this story is that John had education, and he was a person who, like I said, just fell off the end when he shouldn't have. But because John had education, John was able to get a job that paid him over $50,000 a year. And with that, and with our help, he was able to get into housing. So when we think about John's case, John needed about $100 in gas cards to do interviewing. He needed about $950 because he decided to move into a small place that he could afford. So often I like to say, for the cost of about $1,100 to $1,200, we were able to meet John where he was, find out what he needed, and allow him to move into permanent housing for the rest of his days. Because I know we're at the point of the year where I do a lot of speaking, I actually did reach out to John, and it's now been a year since John has received our services. He's still housed, he's still employed, he's able to save money, and he's looking forward to his next step in both his career and in his housing. The good thing about Streets to Home is that it allows us to reach people for fairly nominal costs. My wife and I are what we call change makers at United Way of King County, which means we actually give $150 a month, but the minimum to give this year is $100 a month. And I must say, we do a little better this year because we realized that so many people were hurting through the pandemic that we knew that we could sacrifice just a little bit more and give a little bit more to help so many who have nothing in these days. So we are change maker givers, and I encourage each and every one of you to think about doing the same. For basically the cost of a good dinner, a night out for two, $100, you can do that and enter somebody's life and be part of somebody's life through your wanting to give. So in our case, when I think about it, our gift allowed one person to be housed and employed for at least 1 year. And I'd be willing to give up more dinners, more shows, more whatever it takes so that I could help other people through my giving be able to sustain their own lives each and every day. Not just this day, but day after day, week after week, month after month, because the point of Streets to Home is to allow people to just gather themselves, get into life, get a job, get somewhere to live, and we leave them alone. They live their lives and they enjoy the same bounty of life that we all live here in King County. It's been indeed a pleasure to speak with you tonight, to share a few words with you. And just again, give to United Way of King County so that we could be more successful in these programs. And I thank you in advance for that, which I know that you are going to do. I now turn it back to Ethan so that he may continue to share more words with you.
Thank you so much, Wayne. It's always nice to have you around, and I love the time we spend together. So thank you so much. I want to point out a couple things that Wayne said in his speech. Think about a number he said when you're talking about organizations that come to scale. Think about the $100 million plus of rental assistance, right? So I want to point out one thing, because I know a lot of people are on here are business oriented. When you're dealing with homelessness, we look at it on the streets in Ballard and downtown and Pioneer Square. That's not the real, I mean, that's an unfortunate position that we find a lot of people in, that we really need to help them out. But the majority of homeless people, I mean, they don't want to be homeless. They don't want to be. It is really about us having a response time so they don't get just depressed and fall into a mental health problem or a drug addiction problem, right? And that's the thing about United Way that's super special. They do act fast. When you're talking about the rental assistance program, they got a lot of people rental assistance during the pandemic, where a lot of cities and counties around the country didn't have the infrastructure that a United Way of King County has. So if you're thinking about homelessness, I'm super thankful United Way had the mechanism here to help with rental assistance through the home base program. And we didn't have a huge ballooning of people living on the streets. I'm sympathetic and I'm passionate about fixing problems, but that's a tough problem to fix when they are especially on the streets for too long, where they actually get depressed. Nobody wants to be on the streets, let's be honest. So when you're thinking about organizations, and a lot of people in the Northwest are like, oh, United Way is one of the larger support organizations, and they are, yeah. And you know what? We need that. There's a ton of small ones, but United Way has the scale and the ability to help out on a larger scale. So I feel like we were super fortunate in the pandemic to have the home base program and also the Streets to Home program. It's connecting people with housing. It's just that's actually the Streets to Home program is the main reason I got involved with United Way, because I believe in the program so much. But I just think we're super fortunate to have them in the community, and the work they do is hugely important, and it makes major impact, and it's kind of behind the scenes, but I got to tell you, I promise you all this, we are all super lucky that they're there helping out. So we're gonna get on some cooking. I want to thank Stephanie and Holly for donating. Thank you so much. It's super appreciated. And then I want to thank Wayne one more time for spending some time with us tonight. And now I'm going to turn it over to the star of the show to make us some dinner. And we're looking forward to this. So Kaleena, it's all you.
Thanks. Well, really quick, I just want to say that this is a meaningful segment to me too. I have a family member who in the last few years has dealt with homelessness linked to mental health issues, and it rings really true for me. So I'm really grateful that there are programs out there and that United Way is kind of championing, helping people in those situations. It means a lot to me. But okay, so who's hungry? Show of hands, anyone? Yeah, okay. So hopefully everybody has some water boiling. We're gonna go ahead and get our saute pan warming up. All right, so this is one of my favorite pastas to make. And again, there's different variations of it. You can kind of tweak it to make it however it fits best for you. But what we're gonna start with is—
Are you gonna say BAM in this segment at some point?
No, this is it's New Age Food Network.
I just dated myself poorly.
You totally
I did. I'm like so old all of a sudden.
Everybody took a sip every time Ethan dates himself.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so you're gonna have a little ramekin. I see people taking sips. You're gonna have a little ramekin of a blend oil. So it's a mix of canola and olive oil. I love the flavor of olive oil. The nice thing about blending it with canola is that canola has a higher burning point. So we're gonna go ahead and saute with that. We're gonna add a little bit to the pan. I would maybe add half of it. If you need to add a little bit more later, feel free to. We're gonna saute some mushrooms here. So these are actually two of my favorite fall mushrooms. We have the lobster mushroom. So that's the one that's pretty bright red. Here you can see.
Why is it called a lobster mushroom?
Why do you think it's called a lobster mushroom, Ethan?
I'm guessing the color.
It's actually a bacteria that takes over another mushroom. So it takes over Arusula and like hardens it and turns it into this bright red, like very firm, very solid mushroom. And that's how we get the lobster mushroom. And then we have the chanterelles. I'm sure many of you are familiar with. They kind of smell like dried apricots. I know that's it's. I feel like, yeah, smell it. He's not convinced.
Apricot.
So these are two that I absolutely love. So when your oil,
They're both amazingly delicious. We're super fortunate to have as many forage mushrooms out here.
we
as
really
do.
are. And there's so many more than this. It just gets me excited. It gets me excited for fall. And this, I thought about pre-cooking them for you guys and adding all the aromatics and stuff to them, but I really wanted you guys cooking at home to be able to smell the mushrooms cooking, because that's one of my favorite parts of making this dish. So we're going to go ahead and add the mushrooms to the pan. And then I would say definitely add a little bit of salt right away. It's going to season it, and it's also going to help draw out some of the liquid from the mushrooms. The mushrooms surprisingly soak up a ton of the oil. So if you feel like it's getting a little bit dry, feel free to add a little more oil to it. I think I gave you guys a little more than you would need just to be on the safe side. And I would keep your heat about medium. You don't want it blasting, but you can hear that sizzle here.
That was delicious.
Yeah, smell it. It smells earthy. It smells like autumn. Hopefully everybody also has their pot of water boiling. Again, please remember to salt your water. One thing I always do is I kind of like dip my pinky in and taste it. It should be salty as the sea. So
you're suggesting they put their hand in the boiling water.
Okay, don't put your hand in the water.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, that was chef talk. Maybe take the end of
I'm joking.
a fork.
You can totally put your finger in a pot of water. It doesn't hurt.
But don't say I told you to.
That's delicious water.
Go ahead and keep kind of sauteing your mushrooms as we're going. And we're going to take this campanelli here. I know you guys was packaged up, so go ahead and break it up if it's a little bit stuck together right now. So this sauce is a little bit heartier. It's a little bit thicker, and I love using campanelli for this. One, I just like the texture of the pasta. We actually got this from Ethan Stoll's commissary, so thank you for that, Chef.
We're here for you.
But you'll notice that it's super sturdy, so it holds well to a thicker sauce. So we're going to go ahead and dump that in the water, and we'll go ahead and give it a stir. And depending, it'll take about 3 to 4 minutes. So this part of the segment is kind of fluid, so just kind of follow me. Right now, you should kind of be smelling the mushrooms. They should start becoming very aromatic, kind of wilting a little bit. Again, make sure you got that salt and pepper in there. If you need to add a little more oil, go ahead and do it. And at this point, we are going to go ahead and add the squash puree. So this is actually a kabocha squash puree, very similar in taste to butternut squash, super bright yellow.
When I saw that, I thought it was French's mustard.
He thought it was mustard. So kabocha squash is actually a Japanese varietal of squash. Basically, I roasted it in olive oil for about 30 minutes, scooped up the flesh, put it in a saute pan with aromatics. So, thyme, rosemary, sage, garlic, and then basically pureed it and strained it so it's nice and smooth. So we're going to go ahead and add that. I would recommend using a spatula so you can get all of it. This also has some cream in it, so it kind of has everything. I mean, you can build this from scratch, but I wanted to make it easy for you guys. And another thing I do, so obviously the puree is a little bit thick. So one of my tricks that I do is I add a little bit of the pasta water that the pasta is cooking in. So it's starchy, it's already seasoned, and it's going to help you thin the pasta out a little bit while everything's kind of cooking down. I feel kind of silly like cooking pasta next to you now. I wish I would have chosen something different because you're like the pasta expert.
I don't know about expert.
So I've
cooked a couple 10 million bowls of rigatoni though in my day.
I know, I feel weird. So you can kind of see on mine that it's a little bit looser, and that's okay because it's going to thicken up the more that it cooks. But what you really want is for the flavor of the mushrooms to kind of infuse in the sauce. So it's okay if it's a little bit soupy right now.
Yeah, these ingredients all adding up are just all awesome fall flavors.
It's all fall.
It's all fall. Super
and
good.
Don't forget to take a sip of your Negroni. It's a good time right now. This is part of the recipe.
I mean, Gordon was done with his Negroni about 45 minutes ago.
All right, so go ahead and give your pasta another spin. So the nice thing about fresh pasta as opposed to dried pasta is that it doesn't take as long to cook. I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, like 3 to 4 minutes, depending, like 2 to 3.
Yeah, it depends. 3 to 4 minutes for the company. I was probably about right. Depends on how dense the pasta is. We used to do a really thick cut spaghetti that took like 15 minutes to cook,
That's amazing.
and it was awesome.
Really quick, we're gonna, so the butter, the whole butter you have, we're gonna go ahead and add that. If your pieces are a little big, feel free to kind of break them up. And then also, if your sauce is looking a little bit thick, you can add a little more of the pasta water to it. You can't add too much, I promise, because all that's going to happen is it's going to reduce, and you're just going to get that seasoning and those starches in there.
That's very true.
It's very true.
All
See, now I feel better.
all Italians, and when they're making pasta, they always add a tablespoon or 2 or 3 of pasta water because that starch is in there. Those flour particles, they help thicken up your sauce and it makes it a little bit more creamy. Kind of like the French use a roux, but much thinner version of it.
And so the butter is just going to kind of slowly melt. My sauce is boiling a little bit, and I'm just going to keep moving that. The idea is for it to melt and kind of just bind with the sauce, not only for flavor, but it's going to help thicken it, and it's going to help give it that kind of silky texture. So we're going to keep checking the pasta, depending on how big or small your pot is, or how crazy it was boiling. It might be done 30 seconds earlier than mine or not. Use your best judgment on that. But I think what you really want with this pasta is for it to be al dente. Actually, I'm gonna let you talk about that.
Are you gonna throw the pasta against the wall and see if it sticks?
Do you want me to?
Kinda. No, it's not.
So I'm gonna go ahead and try it. I'm gonna give it like another 30 seconds. Also remember that it's gonna carry over cook. So even if it feels a little toothy now, it's gonna cook more in the sauce.
While we have a second, I want to thank Carolyn for her donation tonight. Thank you so much. We really appreciate the support. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
And we also want to thank Alaska Airlines. These tickets are cool. I might enter.
All right, guys, how's your pasta looking? If you guys have any questions, feel free to, turn your mic on. Happy to answer.
Any questions, anyone?
Kaleena,
I think everyone's just focused.
Kaleena, my wife wants to know, where do you get your lobster mushrooms from?
It's a secret. I won't. If I tell you, I have to kill you.
Oh boy! All right, I tried.
There's some good grocery stores out there that have them. There's a couple of things I'll say. At the farmer's market, Foraged and Found Edibles has wild mushrooms around at the farmer's market, so you'll get them. Also, a couple of grocery stores do. Like I've seen, Uwajimaya has a lot of wild mushrooms, and I've always had good luck finding chanterelles and lobsters when they're in season at the town and country markets.
Oh yeah.
I shop at Ballard Market like twice a day. And they always have a fair amount of wild mushrooms if they're in season. So it's checking your local grocery stores. It's the more boutique places in the farmers markets.
I will say though, if you're going out foraging, look for hemlock trees. They grow so abundantly all around us. It's crazy. Okay, but going back to this, so if your pasta sauce is reducing at a quick rate, go ahead and either turn it off or turn it on super low. I kind of have mine just kind of holding right now. I'm going to go ahead and grab a strainer, and I'm going to strain the pasta. Yep.
I can help.
I'm also going to just grab a little bowl. If you have a ladle or something, or a little cup, I'm just going to reserve a little bit of the pasta liquid because I might want to thin it out a little bit after. And yes, I would love for your help. We're going to go ahead and strain our pasta. Go ahead and taste yours first, though. If yours needs a second, leave it in a little longer. If you like it a little more done.
You ready? Want me to put it right in there?
Oh, I'm ready.
All of it?
Yep. So we're going to go in with the pasta.
There we go.
There we go. And we're just going to kind of toss it, coat it. So I love this because the color, and hopefully yours is looking the same right now. It almost looks kind of cheesy.
It looks like mac and cheese.
Except that it's not. Yeah.
Super good.
And so next we're going to add the kale to it. And I add the kale last because I actually like for it to still be super crunchy. I don't like when my kale's cooked down too much and it has no texture. I love when it's kind of bouncy and you can see it, and when you eat it, it still crunches a little bit. I mean, kale's good raw. We eat it in salads, right? So I kind of think the same thing with the pasta.
You're using the flip technique. Because anybody else on the class, would they like to demonstrate their flipping technique?
I don't know.
I want to see it.
I want to see it too.
Ron, nice work. I saw it.
Yeah. So guys,
Ron's the
go ahead
man.
and give it a little taste. Mine actually needs a little bit of salt, so please season as necessary. Thank you.
Sure.
Little bit of pepper as well is always good. So the thing with squash is like, I feel like salt brings out flavor more than you think it's going to. So salt it a little more if it seems a little bland. And again, take a little bit of the pasta water you reserved if it's getting a little thick, because you want it creamy at the end of the day. And the pasta water kind of is a mechanism to help you adjust it. So you can't go wrong with it. It's going to evaporate or it's not. So we're going to go ahead and flip this off. So your noodles should be coated, should be a nice, beautiful, bright yellow. Everybody doing okay with theirs? Okay. So we're going to go ahead and plate this pasta.
It looks delicious.
Oh, thank you.
I will say a lot of when you're talking about Italian pasta, how they serve it, it's usually how Italians think about pasta. They think about it the same way as pizza, is that the dough or the pasta is the star and the sauce is there to accompany it. So this whole idea of tons of sauce on things isn't actually historically correct. So you want to have enough to coat the noodles or the pizza peel, the dough, and it's just really an accent piece. It's really meant to be light and a smaller portion and delicious. So, and this looks great.
Okay, so we plated the pasta. This is kind of my favorite part. This is where you add like all of your garnishes and everything that makes it taste super good. So I have the Parmigiano Reggiano here. If yours is still in the ramekin, I would maybe kind of break it up with your fingers because it should be super fluffy. It's probably a little compact from sitting in there. But we're gonna go ahead and do a generous fluffing.
This is where like at Menchie's. You're getting all your toppings.
This is like, yeah, this is the flavor. And then we also have a little bit of herbed goat cheese. So it's goat cheese that has a little bit of cream. I did it in a mixer, so it kind of just makes it a little thinner, easier to melt. And then I've added some lemon juice, some salt, some pepper, some chive, and some parsley. And so honestly, one of my favorite things to do is just put it in kind of clumps on top of the pasta. And then it's kind of for the guests to stir in as it slowly melts on top of the pasta, and it just adds that tanginess, that funkiness, that creaminess to it. And then lastly, for a little bit of crunch, I've toasted some pistachio. So we're gonna go ahead and just put that on top as a garnish.
Looks delicious. I got a question. What got you into cooking? No, once you finish that, then tell us what got you into cooking.
Last thing, if you like, add a little bit of pepper on top. It's one of my faves, but there we go.
It's delicious.
What got me into cooking? I don't know. I'm a weirdo, Ethan. So
I know.
Honestly, my first word was eat.
Okay.
I've kind of always been about food. I always knew that I was going to be a chef. Like I wanted to cook before Food Network even came out. We probably did too.
I don't think they had TV when I started cooking. And my first words were Gordon McHenry Jr. It's weird, but it was. I
don't know. I just always wanted to do it. I've never even contemplated doing something else. And I got into it when I was 16 and I've really just never stopped. I love it,
Great.
But here we are with pasta now.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
And please show us some pictures. Hopefully you guys has turned out well too.
Anybody got some bowls of pasta they want to show us?
We'd love to see. Yeah.
Oh, those look good.
There we go. Does it smell?
Nice work.
I feel like it should smell like fall.
I think it was Eva or Eve. I want to see iPad number 5.
Oh, it looks so good.
That
It
looks
looks
delicious. That looks great.
perfect. That looks great.
Kayleen, nice work.
It's pretty easy,
Nice
right?
work. That's pretty cool.
And again, hopefully like your kitchen at this point should be smelling just kind of like fall and like hard herbs, you know?
Well, I mean, I thought that was great. I'm looking forward to eating this. And we appreciate you all coming and cooking with us. And we're going to give it over to Gordon a little bit for some final thoughts, and then we're going to come back to us because, you know, we're the stars. And we're going to wrap things up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers.
I'm full of appreciation for Kaleena and for Ethan. I'm just thinking about the fact we've all been able to come together in a community around the importance and the joy of food. And that's one of the things that United Way is very concerned about, those in our community who don't have this kind of an opportunity. So I really do hope that you've enjoyed your evening. I hope that you've been informed about the work of United Way. I hope you've been inspired by Kaleena, by Ethan, by my friend Wayne. And I hope that inspiration leads you to make a gift in support of our work. We are a nonprofit, and we need the support to be able to do this work. And again, for those who have already been giving to us, this is a great time to increase that gift. It's more than commensurate with the needs that are increasing in the community. So a lot of gratitude for myself on behalf of a really great team of United Way staff, community partners, sponsors, and I hope all of you, I wanted you to take good care of yourself, take good care of your families, and together we're going to take really good care of our community. So I'll end with that and turn it back over to my friends, Kaleena and Ethan, with our gratitude.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Kaleena, who's one of the rising chefs in Seattle. She's young, super talented, as you can tell.
Not that young.
Yeah, you are. Compared to me, you are. I want to thank everyone for doing it. You know, I mean, you know, it is an ask program, so we love your support and we appreciate it. I'm going to let Kaleena say something. I don't know if anybody else is having the smoke.
Yeah,
Give you a dry
I've been
throat, but that's
coughing a lot
definitely me.
too.
Why don't you thank everybody?
Well, I appreciate everybody, everybody who donated, everybody who also just supported us in United Way in this process. And of course, everyone who just wanted to join along and cook some good food. And I hope you guys really enjoyed the dinner. And, you know, I hope to see you guys in the future. Obviously, right now, I don't have a home restaurant, but you'll see me around.
We're working on it.
We'll see me around doing pop-ups. My next one is probably going to be in November doing a forage and feast pop-up. So if any of you are more interested in mushrooms, basically I've started a pop-up with my friend Nico, who's the chef over at Memnoon. And we're taking people out doing foraging adventures in the fall, looking for like matsutakis, chanterelles, lobster. And then we bring everybody back and do like a really intimate, nice dinner. So that's kind of the next thing on the book for me, but keep an eye out. Who knows where I'll end up. And I want to thank Ethan too for having me here and for United Way. This is obviously my first one I've done, and I'm really grateful to be here.
You did awesome.
And I hope you guys had a good time with us as well. And thank you so much for supporting.
And yes, let's talk about what else is coming up. What's ahead? There's another Eat, Drink, and Be Generous event with Christy Brown of Communion, and that's on November 9th. We'd love you to sign up for that right off the bat. Please sign up for that tonight. And please make sure, is there a poll? Poll's done. Okay, well, I don't have to worry about the poll. Well, everybody, thank you so much. I mean, as I said earlier, you know, I pointed out a few of the things of the reasons that I support United Way, and I'm so committed to the organization. I think you got to find your reason. You know, I think they've done a lot of great work. Seattle would be in a different spot after the pandemic without them. But in all honesty, pandemic in a lot of ways, this isn't over. We've got the aftermath of the pandemic. We've got inflation. and some possible economic turmoil coming our way. And United Way is going to be there. So those of us that are fortunate, let's make sure we support them. We love what they do. We love the leadership and the team. Everything's all about team. So everybody, thank you so much for coming out. Kaleena, thank you so much
Thank
for what you do and sharing your talents with us. Gordon and Wayne, thank you so much for being with us as well. So everybody, take care. Be well. Thank you so much. See you next time.